welcome to my video. Hello again. I'm Gemma, if you haven't been here before, and I love reading, and here are some of the books that I've read this year. I thought I would talk to you about all the books that I've read, because it's looking to be a bumper year. I think I've read 14 books or something this year, 15 books or something, I don't know. So I thought we'd go through and talk to you about what I liked, what I didn't like, and what I'd recommend. So let's crack on with a book actually I haven't got with me, which I started the year off reading, which was Tress of the Emerald Sea by Sanderson. This was recommended to me by my sister and she really loved it. It was so good, I did really enjoyed it. So it was about this girl called Tress who grew up on an island. The world is quite different to what we have. They have seas and islands and everything, and each island is quite separate and has their own resources, and they mingle by certain people being allowed to sail on the seas, certain skilled people being allowed to, and also if they've got money, being allowed to sail the seas, otherwise you're not allowed to leave the island. And the seas are, there's like 7 seas or something, 7 different types of seas, and they're not water, although they behave a bit like water in certain circumstances. But they each have tiny little, I can't remember what they call them, like balls, let's call them balls. And each one has a different characteristic, so it could be that when you touch it you're fine, but if water touches it then it will sprout a deadly vine in whatever way, and it can snowball as well. Or it could be that you touch one and it explodes or whatever. So you have to have certain skills and abilities in order to traverse these waters. Or seas, let's call them seas because they're not waters. Anyway, so it's about Tress's adventures, and someone that she respects gets taken, so she goes, it's a journey on going to try and leave the island, which she's not allowed to, and try and find this person. And yeah, it was really good. So I've rated all the stories, and I rated this one 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, but I found it a bit, the writing seemed a bit pedestrian, but possibly it was a writer's choice writing in that way. I've never read any other Sanderson, and I know that he's well thought of, so it could be that reason. The next book I read, I don't have it either. It's Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Suzanna Clarke, and oh my goodness, this book was awesome. I absolutely loved this book. I thought Suzanna Clarke's writing was fabulous, her world building was amazing, the way that she brought the characters to life and the way that she weaved the story together was fabulous. I thought the two main characters of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell were completely different, but had learnt to respect each other. It was great. It was set in a historical fiction, so it always felt like it was real, like it could have actually happened. And she wrote it like, I think that was a writer's choice, because again it had loads of excerpts that explained the history behind that story, and it was brilliant. It was so well written, and I really enjoyed it, and would definitely recommend, and will be buying it for my bookshelves, I believe, because it was such a long book, so you really need to be dedicated. I think it was about 1,000 pages, and the writing was really tiny too, so it took me a little while to read, but oh my goodness, it was so good. I also subsequently found out that they had a TV series, which I think it was like an 8-part TV series. That was really good. Missed out loads of stuff from the book, so definitely read the book first. But even if you read the book, the TV series was really good. So yeah, definitely recommend reading Jonathan Strange. It is, like I said, it's an epic tome, but it was really good. So my daughter, she's 7, and she wanted me to read The Worst Witch. I actually recommended these to her because these were books that I read when I was a kid and I absolutely loved them, by Jill Murphy. I think there's like 8 of them maybe. They're really good. I really enjoyed them as a kid and she loved them, so I would recommend them for sort of between 5, 6 and 8 maybe. I definitely highly recommend the stories for kids, so if you've got any children in that age group, would recommend reading these very much so. Yeah, really good. sticking with my daughter, she also recommended reading this one, The Haunting of Fortune Farm by Sophie Kirtley. This was brilliant, really, really good. Now, I don't like horror or anything like that. It makes me really nervous. So this was the right level, even though it's a children's book, this was the right level of horror and suspense and thrill for me. I didn't, maybe a little bit less tame, but not much more scary than this one. It was really, really good. It was really well written. Sophie Kirtley is a great author. Would recommend her and reading any other books by her. It was really well written and the story came together really well. The characters and the way that the characters' personalities were portrayed across the page were fabulous, and anyone going through, any child or adult even really, going through family trauma, losing a parent or a loved one, I would say it made me cry. It was really well done. I lost a friend, a really, really close friend, about 7 years ago now, and I started thinking about him, and I feel like this book dealt with loss in a very sensitive way and approachable for children. So yeah, I would really recommend this one. Yeah, really good. Next up is actually the last book that I finished. It's called Wild by Cheryl. This is a film with Reese Witherspoon from 2013 or something like that. But it's just based on a true story, and I usually love reading the books first. But for some reason I watched the film a couple of times actually. It's about travelling and walking. This was much better than I was expecting. I thought it was just going to be quite a, I went here, I saw this, I felt that, quite like blocky. But it wasn't. It was really well written. It did get a little bit tiresome towards the end. I don't know whether she sort of got a bit fed up and wanted it to end. But when I saw the length of it, I was like, oh my goodness. And then the size of the writing, oh my goodness me, this is going to be so dull. But actually it was well written and it did keep me engaged almost the whole time. So if you like the film, I would recommend this. But yeah, it was good, and I would give this a 4 out of 5, I think. Maybe a 3 out of 5. But no, 3.5 out of 5. Let's go with that. Next up is a book, again, I don't have. I borrowed from my sister again. It's called We All Want Impossible Things. And the reason I want to talk about this next is because this one deals with loss as well. But this one was to do with her friend going through cancer and passing. And it was really good, really well written. I felt extremely emotional throughout the whole thing, really. Again, thinking of my friend passing. So anyone who's been through or is going through any trauma with family loss or friends, I recommend that one too. So I gave that one a 5 out of 5. It's hard not to cry all the way through, but also it's laughter. There's laughter too. You can tell that the bond that these two had was really strong, and lifelong friendship of joy and laughing and being there for each other felt quite special to be a part of, and to her to have let us in and to see that part of it. So yeah, it was really fun, really good and emotional and connecting. This one to talk about is this one, again Suzanna Clarke. So I read this one because of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. So it's called Piransei. I didn't read the blurb at all, didn't have a clue what it was about. But when I looked at this picture I thought, oh, it's going to be about Greek. Piransei sounds Greek. It's going to be about Greek gods or have some Greek connections. No, turns out the blurb might have helped me to understand that it's nothing to do with Greeks. It's got nothing at all in there at all about that. It was really, really interesting, this story. I could not work out what was going on at all for a good, most of the book, honestly, but the first few chapters, well, more than that really, first quarter of the book, I was like, what is happening? What is going on? What's this guy doing? But it all becomes clear at the end, and it's very clever and very well, again, really well written. Suzanna Clarke is an author I'd really, really recommend. Completely different to Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. This is actually, I don't really want to say too much about it because it has a surprise, it has a mystery to it, which, you know, if you're like me, you won't get it until the end. But basically it follows a guy called Piransei navigating the world that he's in. Let's put it like that. It's not very long, you know. It's written like a diary. It's a journal entries. This is all from his point of view. Really good book. Definitely recommend that one. 5 out of 5 I gave that one too. Okay, next one. This one I read because I watched the film. I didn't know it was from a book, and I thought, oh, I'll read the book. Maybe it'll explain something in the story, in the film, sorry, that we didn't quite understand. My husband and I watched. I didn't quite understand, and we were like, that doesn't seem to fit. I wonder if it explains more in the story. Turns out it doesn't explain more in the book. So this is called On Chesil Beach by McEwan. This is well written, it's good or whatever, but if you've watched the film, then there's no point reading this at all, but I would recommend reading the last, say, 20 pages. This is a large read book, like that, so it's really quick, so if you want to read it, but the film was great. Saoirse Ronan is fabulous, I love her. So she was great in the film, you know, either watch it or read this, you don't really need to do both, but if you do watch it, I would recommend sitting in the library even, and just reading the last 20 pages. 5, just read that, because it has such better ending, so much more fitting with the characters than the film. The film ending is, for me, is a bit sensational, it's a bit film-like, and they changed it to fit being a film, I guess, but this one was much more fitting for the characters that McEwan had developed. It just made more sense. So maybe watch the film until the last 20 minutes, then read the last 20 pages of this one, and then you've got the best of both worlds. All done. There we go. What did I give this one? Probably a 3 out of 5. Yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 5. So not because it was a bad story. It was a good story. It's just pointless. I read was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I loved this book, and I don't know whether it was because I was ill. It was very, very easy to read. I really liked the characters, I liked the way that she was struggling and the way that they managed that struggle, and the way it was just a heartfelt, warm book. Really easy read. It just felt nice, and it felt like I wanted to be her friend. I want her to be my friend, and I want her in my life. A really nice, well-written story. So yeah, I would recommend for that reason. What did I give this one? I gave this one 5 out of 5. So yeah, really sweet, and that was a good one. Now, this that I read, it was really sweet, really nice, in a completely different way. This is called The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I really enjoyed this book. Another 5 out of 5. It was really, really easy to read. The main character developed so much and it was a heartwarming story about being who you are and being accepted for who you are, not just for the way that you look, but who you are inside. Not at all for the way you look, actually, but for who you are inside and the actions that you take and what you do, what you choose to do in your life to make other people happy or yourself. And it was how you look after each other. It was a lovely, lovely story. So yeah, it was about a man who was trapped in a job. So it's in a world where it just had magical people who had magic inherently, and they had to declare themselves as magical. And he wasn't magical, but his job was for the government, and he had to go around orphanages and make sure the orphanages were looking after the children correctly, and make sure there weren't any issues with anyone. And he just did his job, and he did his job really well. But then he got given an assignment which was a lot more challenging than others had been. But throughout that process of going to this more challenging orphanage, he was challenged on some of those ideas that he'd been told from his job, and challenged who he was and why he was making the choices that he was making, or really why he wasn't making the choices that he was making, what was holding him back. And I think there's a lot to learn from that, and a lot of trying to find who you are and being okay with where that takes you. So yeah, really enjoyed that one. Okay, next one, another book about walking. So this one is The Salt Path by Raynor Winn. It's actually a film that's coming out. Oh no, it's out now with Jason Isaacs and Gillian Anderson. I love those two actors, so I will go and see that. So what I was worried about with The Wild is being, oh, this happened, then this, and this. This was written like this. It wasn't written well at all. It was just written, this happened, this happened. You know, I was expecting there to be lots of strong emotional connection to the story, because, so they became, through unfortunate events in their life, it's a true story, homeless, and so they lost all their home, their family home, and basically everything that defined them as in their adult, the choices that they'd made, because they bought a farm, so it was very much a lifestyle choice that they bought into, and they lost it all, and they decided, because they didn't really know what else to do, was to spend their last £300 or whatever travelling the Salt Path. It's a really long, I think it's 630 miles, through walk round the coast of Cornwall, Devon and Dorset, and maybe a bit of Somerset, I'm not sure. Anyway, so it's a really long hike, and so their plan was to do that for a few months to try and get some perspective, I guess, and deal with what had happened to them. Yeah, it was disappointing, really, really disappointing. The ending was better, not the ending, from sort of about here-ish, they get back, they go off the trail and they get back on the trail. Here seemed to be written better. I don't know why, but I mean, I kept going with it, kept sort of expecting it to be good, because I really wanted it to be good. I think it's quite divisive, because I think a lot of people do enjoy it. It just wasn't for me at all, yeah. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5, but really probably a 2, honestly. At moments it sparkles, and description came, but it was few and far between. I loved the message written at the end about hope. Never give up hope for the future. Life may throw stuff at you, but it's how you deal with that keeps you alive. People matter. Whether I've written that or whether she wrote that, I don't know. I think I've written that. So there we go. There's some words from me. But she talks about hope at the end. Yeah, it's better at the end. The last sort of fifth, I'll give her. Yeah, not for me, I'm afraid. Okay, next one that I read was called The Outrun by Amy Liptrot. Another true story. This was based on Amy's life up to a certain point, a very specific part of her life, from reaching her 20s, I think, early 20s, and moving to London, sort of wondering what she was going to do. She grew up on Orkney and had issues with her family. So she moved to London, had basically a very difficult time with alcohol and men, and finding her path, and, you know, wondering what place she has in this world. And she goes back to Orkney. It wasn't right. She actually moved to another island for a bit and did a job there. It was really good. I felt like it was sort of very much like this book was cut out of a person's life. So you sort of don't really know what's the before, and you don't really know the after. It didn't feel like a book in and of itself. It felt like a part of a book. So it was a good book and well written. And not very long. Again, this is a large print one, so, you know, it's not long if it was written normally, so it's 300 pages here. It was a good book. Really, the reason I read this was because it's a film with Saoirse Ronan, and I want to watch the film, and I wanted to read the book first. So I haven't watched the film yet, because we have news. We're actually moving to Scotland. We're moving to the Highlands from southern England in a few weeks now. It's mad, it's crazy, so I'm sort of waiting till I get there, and then I'm going to watch the film. I've got high hopes for the film just for visually. I feel like the panoramas that they're going to show are going to be amazing, going to be really awesome. So it was a good book, but, you know, it was just like her life, really. It was just facts about her life and her story. What have I given it as a rating? I gave it a 4. 4 out of 5. Yeah, it was better, much better than The Salt Path. Much better written, much more interesting, and felt like it had more of a point, much more of a thought-provoking read than The Salt Path. On the face of it, really, this should have been thought-provoking, but this one was much more. So, it was good. Possibly recommend. How much on the fence can I be? I'm like sat on the fence here. Yeah, there we go. I'm staying on the fence. Okay, the last book I've got here is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This one is a book that is highly recommended. I think it's really well thought of across the world. It took me so long to get into this book. So long. I think it was because I was unwell. I was ready for something meatier, but I felt this maybe was a bit too far for my brain, my ill brain, to cope with. So it took ages to get into it, but once I got into it, I really enjoyed the story. It was really well written, but it was just, for me, just too confusing for my head, because it followed the path of 3, I think it was, different storylines. So it had a chapter on one, then a chapter on another, and then a chapter on the third one, and then you go back. And you're moving around all the time, and I could not follow what was going on, and my brain was just like, I can't cope with this. Once I got my head around it, and I was into each individual path, and I could understand each individual path as a sort of separate entity, then I was much more into it. So it's set in a sort of apocalyptic world, potential future world, and it follows the life, well, one of the paths follows the life of this girl who realises she's got this strength. I'm going to call it a strength, although a lot of the book they don't call it a strength. A power which called orogeny, is that what it's called? Where she can manipulate the earth and rocks and stone. Oh, also, if you do read this story, then go to the back, because there is a glossary. Oh my goodness me, if I'd known there was a glossary, I would have followed it much more, because there's loads of different words in here which are unique to this world, so unique that Jemisin has made them up for the story, so you don't know what they mean. So that's another reason why I found it really challenging, because I was like, what are they talking about? I don't understand. I can't follow it. Help me. There's a glossary at the back. So I got to the very end of the story and found the glossary. Oh my goodness me. So, yeah. If you do read it, look at it. Yeah, orogeny. So she is able, that's what they call it. Someone who is able to manipulate stone and earth and feel vibrations and seizures in the earth, and it follows her. And then an older person who is capable as well, 2 older people who are capable of doing the same thing, but they have a different life. It's really good, really well put together, and when the stories merge, lots make sense, and why things happen makes sense. And I went back to the very beginning, just before I finished the end, I went back to the very beginning and read the first chapter again, or not the first chapter, but the prologue, and worked some stuff out, because I made some guesses based on that, which at the beginning when I read it, I didn't have a clue what was going on, but that felt good. It felt, yay, I'm fine, I'm not so stupid. I do get it. I can read books. So yeah, I would recommend this one. I think I gave this a 5 out of 5. Really good. Really, really good. And yeah. So anyway, there we go. All my books that I've read this year. And look at that, man. And that's not even all of them, because some are at the library. God, isn't the library amazing? I get all these books for free. Anyway, so that's my roundup for the first half of the year, so part 1. I'll do another one at the end of the year with the books that I read in the second half of the year. Let me know what you think about any of those, whether you agree with me or whether you're like, oh my god, no, I love The Salt Path. It's the best book in the world. What are you talking about? Let me know. I don't care. I'm not precious. So that's all cool. And if you don't have any comments, you're just here to watch, then thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you guys. Bye.